So this is from Wispurx. It's talking about mental health and Dead by Daylight and how much abuse in game kind of translates to potential real life abuse. So yeah, let's go ahead and give it a watch.
What do you think of when you think of harassment or abuse? Abuse and harassment are very serious things and should not be taken lightly or said lightly. Do you think that harassment or abuse is possible within video games from gameplay alone? I have an answer for that, but that's what today's video is going to be about. A YouTuber and streamer known as That One Guy D had played against
I played with them. I've played with this person before. Yeah. They haven't been in our stream, but I've played with this person semi-frequently, actually. I've played with like a handful of matches with this person.
I will be blurring their name out as well as I can. I'm going to call him Bob, because that's easier. We're just going to call him Bob. His VOD and Twitter and everything else that is out there, so you'll find him if you really want. I really am stressing that we are not going to go and talk to this person or mention anything about the content of this to that person. We are only here to use their behavior as an example. The way the story goes is That One Guy D plays against Bob. Bob was live on Twitch.
Okay.
And That One Guy D is making a YouTube video himself. That video is now live. It's called Scaring Twitch Streamers with Blight.
Oh, I just smacked my arm.
In this video, he plays this very interesting Blight build against various Twitch streamers, many of which have positive reactions. They think it's very interesting and things like that.
Is this the Scratch Mirrors Blight build? Is this? Yeah, I've seen this. There's a lot of ways you can give Blight undetectable between his add-ons and his perks, and you go and you basically like do like spooky jump scare Myers, but you're doing it with Blight, which is weird. I've seen this.
It's a fun Blight who's just trying to do fun things and have a good time, and not just absolutely dominate us. I mean, they're looking to dominate us, but they're looking to dominate us spookily. I find that fun.
But Bob is very dissatisfied with this build. We're going to go through the video. So first, I think we need to talk about the build. For Blight, this is a very weird, different build.
Yeah,
that's what
because you have aura reading too.
Between all the perks and add-ons, he's basically going for a being undetectable / making survivors oblivious. And then with the green add-on he had on, he can see survivors through walls when he bounces next to them. The downside of this build is he's sending himself to a map that's tough to play on as Blight.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have anything to necessarily defend gens with.
Yeah, this is a complete aside, but you guys realize that Larry's, despite how much we dunk on Larry's is really bad for both Blight and Nurse. You find that interesting? That like we dunk on Larry's a lot, but it's like it's a bad map for some of the best characters in the game that we don't like facing. So is it a necessary evil? It's a strange question.
Again, he plays against all kinds of streamers in his video, and a lot of them were very positive and thought the build was interesting. But when he plays against Bob, here's how that game goes.
And he abuses his latency.
Okay.
Yeah. And he chose Larry, so we're just not going to give him anything. Nope, we're not going to give him that. We're just going to DC. I'm not going to stay in a match with a Blight that plays that way and brought us to Larry's just to be an asshole. So no.
So he gets found. He's about to be the second hook of the whole...
He wasn't BMing or tunneling. Even, I mean, you're allowed to tunnel even that. That's a play style. It can be frustrating. It's understanding to be frustrated, but like with like tunneling and stuff, but like he wasn't even doing that. I don't get where he was being intentionally rude or mean with what I saw, unless it was just clipped poorly. Like, you can hate whatever build you want, but like when you make it about the person, that's like that's where we start going off the rails.
Game, Jane got hooked. He was about to be next, and he DCs, super frustrated with the fact that he was sent to Larry's by the killer, and says that he's running this trash build and all these other things. Basically, he's doomed his team to die now that he's disconnected, but we'll just remember that for later. And instead of just disconnecting and moving on to another match, he stays and watches the entire match and makes comments about
That's really strange.
The killer the entire time. Oh, and he also reports him, I guess.
If the killer's gonna choose the map and they're
Reports him for what? Hello? What? I'm confused.
gonna play like that, then no, I'm not gonna stand for it. I'm not gonna give him more. Like, during a Halloween event, the killer wants to choose the map and be stinky and scummy, then we'll just DC and fuck them. Like, but killers manage to just basically be toxic pieces of shit. Playing full scum.
There's a whole other conversation to be had about being frustrated about being sent to maps that just completely side with one person, right? Nobody likes being sent to Midwich against a nurse. It sucks. Nobody likes being sent to Badham as basically any killer because it sucks. That's a whole different conversation. But this guy is framing it like this guy has, like, taken the kids and broken up the marriage. You know, like he's acting like he did something awful or said something awful. Like, you're allowed to be frustrated about, because that's a question that we've been having lately in the DBD community is, like, are map offerings healthy for the game? You can have that conversation. But he's not wanting to have the conversation. He's trying to just make it about the player behind what's going on, which is like, no.
Gummy sweaty build when he doesn't have to.
Man, he just really... Okay. The slamming of the keyboard. Good lord. No. Scummy human trash. Scummy human trash? Listen. We had a spirit. We had that spirit 2 games ago who ran 4 slowdown and went super hard. I wasn't happy during that game. But when I got to the end screen, I was just like, wow. And then I hit next. Right? I was like, oh my. You'll hear me say often too. Like, I'll say like, oh, I bet they're fun at parties. That's like my diffuser line of like, yeah, this is I'm having a great time. I bet they're fun at parties. You know, it's like, but like, to call someone human trash, like, dude, like, here's the thing, and he's probably gonna get to this. Here's the thing. These things are frustrating. And you're allowed to be frustrated about these things. But you can't call somebody human trash over things that are in the video game that they didn't put in the game. They didn't put those in the game. Like, there's... Like, nobody is human trash. Like, that spirit is not human trash because they ran 4 slowdown. Is it really sweaty and not fun to face at all? Yeah. Am I going to be frustrated and probably not enjoy the match? Nope. Not gonna enjoy the match, probably. But, like, I don't say shit like this to them. I don't say stuff like that. I don't say stuff like that to them. It's stupid. It's not uncalled for.
Game's over. He's typing a message already. D says, weird DC, but okay. G-Jules, which is what D says. He says that instead of GG. Have a great night. And Bob says, no reason to bring in a sweaty, scummy human trash build during a Halloween event, bud.
Good lord.
That one guy D says, how is that build scummy? And Bob says, but TY for the VOD evidence to get you banned for it.
Oh.
He's trying to get that one guy D banned for running perks and add-ons in the video game. Perks and add-ons in a map that are far less sweaty than 99% of killers out there. I realize that's subjective, but this is my first time ever watching Bob's VOD. But in the next few hours in the VOD, he DCs and says things like this to killers nearly every match. Like, DCs and says that he's robbing the killer of blood points because they're playing scummy and that they're human trash and all this stuff. And all of them are just playing the video game. Like, some people are sweatier than others, but they're all just playing the video game too. Now that you have like some context for what happened in Dead by Daylight, this is kind of where things start to become bigger. D takes this endgame chat and posts it to Twitter and, you know, basically calls him out for his behavior because he's not being very nice in in-game chat to him. And it blows up from there. D says he's doing a Scratch Premiere Blight video, trying to scare Twitch streamers. This is the response. Since when is bringing Blight to Larry sweaty? This is a sweaty build. Rotated hooks played it.
Here's the thing, like, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Like, I don't give a hoot what he ran. Is that weird to me? I don't care what he ran. He could have, like, why? That's not the conversation, in my opinion. Is that weird? That's not the conversation to me. The conversation has nothing to do with whatever he ran or however he played. That's not what this conversation is about. It's, for me, I'm this scummy human trash, calling somebody human, like scummy human trash over a video game is the more important tidbit here. He could have camped and tunneled and did that at 5 gens, do whatever. And he could have, like, yelled and cried and whined about it and hated the state of the game. None of that matters. None of that matters. Literally none of that matters. He could be upset. He could be happy. The other guy could be upset. The other guy could be unhappy. It doesn't matter. I'm worried about this tidbit. It doesn't matter how... that... Okay, anyways.
Per usual, what did I do wrong here? He's got the build in the screenshot, the DC in the screenshot, and then all of the scummy human trash, VOD evidence getting banned. All that nonsense in there. This post reaches a lot of people. There's 12 retweets, 12 quote retweets, and over 500 likes. Remember at the beginning of the video when I asked you how you felt about the words abuse and harassment and why I brought it up in the first place? This is where Bob takes a really big left turn and surprises everybody with his choices of words. Bob says, imagine basing your content solely on build/gameplay aimed to frustrate or bully your opponents.
That is not a build. Okay, I will say this first before we even get done finishing this. While that was not a build that did that, there are streamers and YouTubers that do that. That do that. That is a thing.
Imagine posting that content to your viewers/community, knowing that it could lead to those opponents being bullied/harassed on other platforms. How is that?
What? What? Huh? You had what? While D definitely did not run a build that was made solely to be like super oppressive and frustrating to face, that people do that in this community. That's just a fact. Like, there are content creators that do intentionally try to run very, very oppressive and super like annoying to face things on purpose. But this part with opponents being bullied and harassed because of it? What? Yeah, that's what he's trying to say, is he's going to be a target for bullying because he faced what is in his eyes as a very oppressive, unfun build? What? Is he serious?
Not toxic. 1 week later, he writes, I now have evidence of someone literally cyberbullying me and using that content to promote even more content of cyberbullying, as well as content from my own channel without my consent. How is this person seen as the good guy? This isn't even the worst of it yet, but we got to talk about this part first.
What?
He says, imagine basing your content solely on builds to frustrate your opponents. He wasn't trying to frustrate you. He was just trying to do like a jump scare build that's like different than what you normally see. Like if you watch D's video, many of those streamers thought it was interesting or at least very different from what they normally play against. You were the single person who was extremely volatile when playing against his build, and you only played against his build for like 30 seconds before you DC'd.
Wow, that's not a long time, actually.
I think that's a very subjective thing you said. He did not aim to frustrate you. You chose to be frustrated over his build in the game, and now you're trying to frame this into your narrative.
Exactly, Zay. Like, he opened this can of worms by calling him scummy trash, scummy human trash, but then he wants to cry. He wants to cry cyberbullying when the guy posts back. He wants to be able to call people scummy human trash, but he wants to cry wolf, cry ooh cyberbullying when it comes back. Come on. You don't even have the wherewithal. You don't even have the guts to, like, you can't take what you're dishing out. You literally can't take what you're dishing out. It's cool when you're in the driver's seat and you're being the cyberbully. But if anybody even slightly implies that you're not the good guy, you're like, I'm being cyberbullied. Come on, dude.
With that being said, because you chose to react that way, you're responsible for your own actions. You're not, you being frustrated over his build and saying all these awful things is not his fault. You are responsible for your actions, whether you like it or not. And then in the second tweet, he says, as well as using content from my own channel without my consent, how is this person seen as a good guy? He's allowed to use your content from your Twitch stream because he's transformed it and used it towards a larger piece of content. That's called fair use.
That's what we're doing right now.
All the time. And
that's what we're doing right this second.
Featuring like
right this second.
Sometimes they're asked, sometimes they're not to. But as long as it's transformative, it's well.
Right this second. That's what we're doing.
Now, here's the part that I have a problem with. Nearly 2 weeks later, he writes a 17 tweet long thread about D and everything that happened. And he has some choice words that we're going to go into. I will no longer be silent about this event, as all it has done is allow my abuser to continue and profit simply for
my what? My what? My Do you understand that there are people who have gone through some incredibly seriously awful things in their life, where they have had people who are like literally real abusers done awful, awful things that scar people for life. For life. And you're gonna call a guy who called you out for calling him scummy trash an abuser? How dare you use that word? How dare you use that word that way? Over a video game. How dare you use that word? Come on.
Having a larger following and appear as the positive good guy. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a horrible mental health day. Work went well enough for the new job I had just started several weeks prior. Nothing major occurred that broke down my mental health. However, as most work days go, it did physically exhaust me. This was one of my regularly scheduled streaming days. I had every intention to stream, even though I knew I was physically exhausted and my mental health was dwelling on some IRL situations. I shouldn't have pushed that go live button, but I did. After going live, I decided to play Dead by Daylight.
That's cool, but you're still responsible for these actions. That's cool that you were having an awful day, but you're still not allowed to be mean to people. You can be grumpy. You can be sad. We started at the beginning of the stream, you guys wondering, hey, you seem kind of upset today. It's like, well, I don't know. I thought I was doing fine today, but maybe there's some, there's stuff seeping through that I'm thinking about in my head. It's okay to not be happy every time you open up a stream, especially if you stream regularly, especially if you have a schedule and you want to stay consistent. It's fine to not be happy all the time in stream because guess what? You're a human being. You are a human being and you are not infallible. You are a flawed being just by existing. It's okay. It's when you start taking it out on other people that's the line. That is the line. He's making it sound like he was just grumpy on stream. It's like, no, you called somebody scummy human trash. You made a choice to hurt somebody else with your hurt. He isn't coming after you because you were sad on stream or grumpy on stream. He's coming after you because you insulted him personally over the video game. You made a judgment about his character as a person based over the video game. And you meant it with your whole chest. It was not a joke. It was not a meme. You were fuming. You were fuming. And he's trying to frame it. He's trying to frame it like, oh, I just wasn't feeling good. Well, you're still responsible for the things you do when you're not feeling good.
I've enjoyed playing DBD for years, although over the last 2 years, I've come to realize that the game has degraded into who can upset the other side more. I still try to play fair, fun games, but had become less tolerant of those who don't look for similar matches. While playing, I ended up getting into a lobby.
And that's okay. But here's the thing, that's okay. We were having that conversation in another React video talking about Choi talking about ranked and unranked, because the people that want casual games and just kind of want to try a little bit, but mostly are there for fun, are there with the people who run for slow down or run toolboxes, prove, and go hard, right? These people are in the same bracket, right? They're in the same pool of play. There is no separation there. So that can be frustrating. That is a conversation you can have, but you made it personal. When you make it personal, the arguments that you have kind of go out the window. Because now it's a me versus you thing and not about whatever topic you're trying to talk about. Exactly, Witchy. That's what I got mad about. You cannot use the word abuser just be like ever something as tiny as getting called out for calling somebody scummy human trash. You made a choice to hurt somebody else's personal feelings, and instead of taking accountability, you went to a buzzword that you know has a lot of emotional weight and misused it on purpose just to get as much attention as possible, which is in its own right scummy. Scummy, almost kind of human trash to do. Wild.
Another TTV streamer by the name of That One Guy D. He was recording matches running what he calls Scratch Mirror Blight and using the reactions of other Twitch streamers for use in his own YouTube video. When I got into the trial and recognized that the build he was using, I did not feel like playing against it, so I DC'd when he eventually downed me for the first time.
What you can do.
I then proceeded to watch the rest of the trial to see how the other survivors fared and reduce my DC penalty.
Okay.
As this was during the DBD Halloween event, I was upset by the fact that he still proceeded to kill the other survivors instead of allowing them to enjoy the event and everyone to get more blood.
There's a video I'm putting out. I don't know when that'll be put out. Probably Thursday, I think I'll put this video out. There's a video I'm putting out Thursday that talks exactly about this. Why do you trust complete strangers to play a certain way in this freaking video game? You don't know him. You don't know this guy. Why did you trust a complete stranger to do something very, very specific for you? Remember that match on Monday? You remember that match on Monday? Where we had that Jane that flamed us because we were camping the hook, even though she kept trying to greed the gen that was right next to the hook that was like 95%. She flamed me for going hard, for camping. She trusted me to not do that. She trusted me to just walk away and let her do whatever she wanted. Why did you do that? Why do you trust strangers? When you're out there on the road, you're driving, you don't trust the other cars, you just drive safely. You don't know what they're doing. You gotta drive as safe as possible. You gotta worry about you. I don't get this mentality from the community that they trust complete strangers to do A, B, C to make them happy. That stuff doesn't make any sense. Why does this community place trust in complete strangers to perform things for them? I don't get it. Especially since so many people up and down, left and right, talk about how toxic the community is, and it's very well known the community is pretty toxic. Why would you trust a stranger in that point? To me, that sounds like if the community is mostly regarded as toxic, that seems like a group of people that would be less likely as a stranger to do something for you that would be nice, like giving hatch or letting you farm an event. Worry about your own lane. God, hate that mentality.
Points/rewards from it. In the endgame chat, I had said some very unnecessary words to That One Guy D, which I found out a little while later was screenshotted and posted to his Twitter feed. To take full account.
Yeah, do you see how he downplays what he said? Unnecessary words. He wants to call a person in the video game who disagreed with being bullied an abuser, which is a very serious term. But when it comes to him referencing his own crap, the things that he said that was garbage, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. Those were unnecessary words. You don't have the guts to do any of what you're doing. You have no emotional regulation. You got to work on that. You're a child. Literally a child. And the way that you're manipulating the situation so incredibly poorly to fit your narrative, everybody can see through it. Everybody. Everybody can see through it. You're very transparently a coward, and you can't stand by what you dish out. And that's the worst kind. At least for somebody who sticks to their guns, I can tell and at least understand where they're coming from. Even if I completely 1000% disagree with it. I at least know that person I know what they're about, I know what they're doing. You flip-flop to get whatever you want and try to, I'm going to manipulate the situation. Everybody sees that you're trying to manipulate the situation, and you're bad at it. And nobody's buying it. That's garbage.
Ability for what I said to him, as it wasn't something I should have said to anyone. I know it was due to my poor mental health state plus not wanting to face his blight build during what is supposed to be a fun DVD event, but still shouldn't have said it. This posting of his screenshot on his Twitter feed led to several of his followers/community members coming into my chat during the next few DBD trials, leading to them spamming my chat and harassing me/trolling me against every opinion/statement I made. This, combined with my already poor mental health state, led to more DCs in the next 2 matches out of frustration and anger. I banned the chatters as soon as I saw what they were doing in my live stream chat.
And that's subjective, right? Like, he says that, but until he shows that, we don't know that. Somebody could simply come into his chat and ask about it. And he could consider that, you know, part of the problem. So we don't know what that looks like. So you got to keep that in mind.
A few days later, I found that the Scratched Mirror Blight video had been posted by that one guy D on YouTube. Not only was it posted, but I found that he had clipped/recorded several statements from my Twitch VOD that night and used those clips of my content on his YouTube video without my consent. He never even bothered to message me asking if he could use it, which is a violation of both Twitch and YouTube policies.
It's not. It's really not. As long as it's transformative, it's fine. It's not. And you're misinformed. I hate when people use this argument. And this was before I ever did React content. Like, I hate when people use this. I hate when people use this. Turn your VODs off? Exactly. Like, literally, like, this is incorrect. If you ever hear anybody say this, it's just wrong. Everybody who says this is incorrect. And this is something I see a lot. This is incredibly misinformed. And I get it, because there are some DBD streamers out there and YouTubers who quite literally don't, like, they barely transform anything. They literally take your Twitch stream and their Twitch stream, and they just, like, cut it up. And that's it. It's very low effort. It's very lazy. I can understand that that's frustrating, but that's not how it works. It is not a violation of Twitch. It's not a violation of YouTube. That's not how it works. Do I wish more things were actually transformative in my view of what transformative is, where it's like, you know, they're adding commentary, they're, you know, splicing in funny noises or stuff like that. Like, I wish more videos were like that. And it is frustrating to see that some people are, you know, in a sense, getting rich quick on YouTube, especially in the DBD community, by just, you know, taking 2 streams and cutting them up. It is not a violation of Twitch and YouTube policies, no matter how much you like or dislike what happens with it. It doesn't matter how emotional you feel about it. It does not change things. It just does not.
I've taken a step back from myself, looked at how I was viewing DVD and other games, and with help from several of my content creator friends, I've decided to view games for what they are, just games, and not let it affect my mental health any longer. However, I am not going to allow situations like this to be unheard. My content rights have been violated. My own Twitch channel has been violated by that one guy D and his community of followers that came in to harass me. I don't
like the language he's using. I'm with you guys. Like, the language he's using of, like, abuser and violated is very important language for people who've actually gone through serious things, and he's using it for Dead Daylight. For Dead by Daylight. I don't like this.
That stream. On top of that, upon looking at that one guy D's channel, nearly all of his content is focused on builds that specifically bully/harass/upset the players he is going against. Then he uses their reactions as his own content for his videos. I honestly don't feel like this is in the lighter spirit of content creation one bit. Purposely,
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. There's plenty of content styles that I hate. I hate on that. I already talked about salt videos, garbage. Like build videos that are just 3 slowdown or 3 meta perks, and that's it. I hate those videos. Like, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that I hate in the DBD community. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's not in the high spirit. Who cares? That's how it works, bud. There's the good and the bad. It's free creation. It's out there. There's good stuff and there's bad stuff, and it's up to you personally to decide what you like and what you don't like. This guy came with receipts, not Butterworth. Yeah, he's creating an intense emotional argument, but he's not providing evidence to it. He's just trying to use big words to make things sound scary. But he's not really saying anything. And for anybody who has half a brain, it's very easy to see that he's just trying to manipulate things. He just thinks he's a better manipulator than he actually is.
Of your own way to ruin somebody else's game/trial for your own content is not necessary and not mental health positivity. Thank you to anyone/everyone who reads this.
Ruin the trial. Ruin the trial, huh? Ruin the trial. Is that not more behavior's fault? Right? Is that not more behavior's fault? I'm not saying people don't play in mean-spirited ways and, like, BM and slap on hook and intentionally tunnel people out just to make sure that they don't get to play. I'm not saying that those things don't exist. And then they say mean stuff in the after chat. I'm not saying those things don't exist. But like, if you're talking about, like, unfun builds, is that not more behavior's fault? Is that not more on behavior to change things? And not that one guy D? Not that I think that his build was in that zone. But like, let's say it was. Isn't that more up to behavior to fix? And not the duty of this one guy? You ruined the trial most by DCing at the beginning of the game? Very true.
I need to get this out of my head and into writing, if even for my own mental health satisfaction and the ability to move on and help spread true positivity henceforth. Don't let others bully you into being quiet. At user I'm not going to mention. Again, thank you for your post last night. It gave me the courage to write all of this and be able to get it out of my head and into writing. All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. That was a big thread written by Bob. And there's a couple things I'll give him some benefit of the doubt for. And then there's many things that he says that are wrong and things that do not sit with me, like regarding abuse and mental health. And
here's the thing, Dan. This is like, don't let other people bully you into silence. This guy started this by calling somebody scummy human trash in a video game. He made a choice in after chat to become aggressive and hurt somebody's personal feelings over a video game. He chose to bully first, and he's going to fall back on mental health and bullying as his excuse. He can't take what he's dishing out. That's all I see.
I find it disgusting. Here's what I think you've done correctly. I think taking a step back and trying to view games for what they are is the correct play. It's a shame that it's taken all of this to realize that, but at least you have realized that. In realizing that, you should be able to reflect that this game was just a game. Like you said, games are just games, and they shouldn't affect your mental health. If they're reaching that point, it's time for a break. I mean, Dead by Daylight will always be there. If you take a break, it's going to be there when you come back from your break. And then the other part you got right, or half right, is you acknowledged what you said to D is wrong, and you shouldn't have said it in the first place. All the things you said it in game
but here's where I get mad, because he's downplaying it. He admits it, but he's downplaying it. He said unnecessary words. Look at this down here at the well, you guys are in the way, but like right here, he says unnecessary words. He calls D an abuser. An abuser. A very serious term. But when it comes to him actually bullying someone, unnecessary words. He's over-exaggerating what he did and under-exaggerating what the guy actually said. He's not taking accountability on his own end, or at least downplaying it as he's doing it, and blowing up what D did. And that to me says you're a coward. You're apologizing, but not really. It's a backhanded compliment or backhanded apology. Yes, I did do this wrong, but it wasn't that big of a deal. What you did was a bigger deal. That's what that says to me. I'll give you a tiny bit just so I seem reasonable, but I'm actually still right.
Being a scummy build and all this stuff. You admit that it was wrong, but in nowhere in those 17 tweets did you apologize.
Literally, I'm not the bad guy. I'm just not the worst guy. Literally, that's what he's saying. See right through that.
That's why I'm only giving you half credit here. I mean, I'm not that I'm like a teacher or whatever, but I think an apology would have been the first step.
Failed.
If you truly felt like you were wrong in that situation. All right, now it's time to talk about all the things that I disagree with or straight up find wrong and repulsive. One, you talk about how he's not allowed to use your Twitch VOD. Again, we said this earlier, he's perfectly allowed to use your Twitch VOD because it has been transformed. It's simply supplementary to a larger piece of content. It's completely fair use, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that you need to consider when you stream on Twitch, that maybe the way you react could become content and used as an example of how not to act.
And you guys know what I do? You guys know though. You guys have been here a while. You know what I do. I dodge double TTVs or more, don't I? I dodge if there's 2 or more TTVs. I leave the match. You know why? Because I don't want to be made into content. I don't want people coming into this chat and being rude to me, because that has happened before. I don't like being ganged up on. It makes me feel like crap. And I know it. I don't need a good reason. I could just play the game, and they could be mean to me, right? So if I see 2 TTVs or more, I leave. That's my rule. It's not that difficult. It's really not. it is something, he's right, it is something you have to navigate as a creator, that some other creators may not like you. And they may see you as free content. Just how it is.
It's just capitalizing on that, and I think you should be using this as a reflective moment rather than a moment to become angry. Next, you decided to DC when you saw his build, and now you are perfectly entitled to DC in Dead by Daylight. That's that option.
And I don't hear this ever. And this is something that I feel like in the community recently has been a very, very hot topic. You paid your $20. Do whatever you want. I hate this argument. Like, does it suck? Yeah. When somebody DCs super early on in the match and I have to play a 3v1, I'm upset. But that's your $20, man. You have the right to do what you want. You really do. That is not, like, he is within his power to do that. But it's what comes after is the problem.
Is there for a reason, and by all means do it if that's what you want to do. But once you DC, it is not the killer's responsibility or D's responsibility to be the fun director at that point. It's not D's fault you DC'd. You chose.
I do a 1-for-1. I do 1-for-1. I don't make it a farm match. I make it a 1-for-1. If there's one DC, I typically let one person go. If there's 2 DCs, I'll let the other 2 hang out. Right? That's my policy. But you can't, like I said, trusting strangers. I'm a stranger to you. You don't know who I am. My policy may be way different from the next guy you fight's policy. And the next guy is like, the next guy's only watched, you know, like 12,000 hour killer streamers his whole life and absolutely despises survivors and is going to drop you on the hatch and then close it in your face. You know, like these are strangers, dude. These are strangers. You cannot trust strangers to do these things. Let's all go into another match quicker is my mentality. Exactly. You will earn more blood points by being in the next match quicker than you would be if you just stayed and farmed. So I'm doing the better thing by doing that. Honestly, I shouldn't even do the 1-for-1 thing, but I just feel bad, you know? But you can't expect complete strangers to follow rules that you're not aware of or do nice things when, you know, people have different definitions of what the nice thing to do in this situation would be. It's just completely unrealistic. And so much of the DBD community has this problem. It's so draining.
Leave the match. And you might not want to hear it, but you are the reason your teammates had a bad game.
Yeah, there it is.
One guy D. He played nice as he could while still killing them. He didn't. Nobody was dead until everybody was dead on hook, which is about the nicest thing you can do while you're still killing them. And you know, and the other people still had a good time. You DCing, it was your own move, and you cannot push that blame onto D. Now, lastly, and the biggest issue I have with this entire situation, and many others that have seen this also have the same issue.
Here we go.
Abuse and mental health are not to be taken lightly.
Nope.
To answer my question at the beginning of the video, when I think of abuse and mental health issues, I think of something that's often outspoken, stuff that is, you know, most people don't even talk about their abuse or their mental health issues because no one wants to listen or understand.
Yep.
And it's stuff that takes lots of treatment or people never recover from or get over in the first place.
Yep.
And for you to call that one guy D an abuser or a harasser due to his build in a game and then screenshotting your own toxic words devalues the voices of those that are going through true mental health issues or legitimate abuse, like things like sexual assault and you know, things to that scale. That's what we think of when we think of abuse and mental health and harassment, not Dead by Daylight, not video games.
Yes.
It's extremely abhorrent for you to use words like that over this situation. Now, there's only one other thing we haven't covered, and that is that you state people from D's community had come into your stream to bully / troll / harass you. That would be a big deal if that were true. So to your benefit of the doubt, I had a look at your VOD from that day because you specifically said that stream. And from the point you DC'd to the end of your stream, which was several hours long, you only had 3 people come in that you didn't know and you banned. Only 2 of which of those 3 were from D's community, and I would make the argument that they were not harassing you. So let's take a look at this.
How did I know? Did I not call that? How did I know? How did I heckin' know? How did I know? You remember, like he said, that would be a big deal if that happened, right? But you saw me, I didn't react very much. I wasn't agreeing that, like, they should go bully them. I just knew. I knew from the way this guy was already manipulating the situation and crying wolf those were crocodile tears. Something was not right. He was exaggerating again.
In our first example, Sammy from Twin D's community comes in and asks, how is he being scummy? And this is basically the vibe of all of her questions from here on before she gets banned. She's basically just asking, you know, how is he scummy? What's he doing wrong? He's just playing the game. He's playing fair, etc., etc.
Well, Sammy, first, he's playing during a Halloween event, picking the map and playing the way he is.
Okay.
Considering he's Blight running Plaything, and I want to say Tinker because, like, we didn't have his terror radius.
He's not being harassed. He's being disagreed with. You guys disagree with me all the time. Alice comes through all the time. Alice disagrees with me on almost everything in the game. Alice Chalice, she did not agree with basically anything I have to say about the game. But we still hang out. That's okay. We have different views on the game. That's fine. That's the beauty of how complex of a game Dead by Daylight is. It's like, you may see the game one way and I see the way another. Or see the game another. It happens, right? Like, he's not being harassed, he's being disagreed with. But some people have issue. Some people have issue with seeing disagreement with conflict. And conflict, therefore, being harassment. Conflict is healthy. You want to talk about mental health? You want to talk about mental health? Conflict is healthy. When done in the right way, conflict helps you grow. Conflict helps you confront hard feelings. Conflict helps you become a better person. Conflict is not something you should run away from, or hate, or shy away from. Conflict is good for you. It's how you push past new boundaries. Since he wants to talk about mental health, just want to put that in.
For I don't know how many times. Like, no, he's playing full scummy sweaty build when he doesn't have to.
Once again, this is like the trust in strangers thing, right? He has this preconceived notion. He has this preconceived notion of it's a Halloween event, so you should not be running a strong build or playing in what he perceives to be a scummy way. He is allowed to be frustrated, right? Like, he can hate the builds he's facing. He can be like, man, I wish people would go not as hard in a Halloween event. He's allowed to have those opinions. But that's not what he's saying, right? He's making it personal. That's the problem.
There's no reason to do it. It's a scummy sweaty build where he also picked the map. No, Sammy, he probably only started rotating hooks because I DC'd on him for the way he was already being at the start. Alright, if you're literally just gonna sit here and troll me the entire time, then you can get out of my chat, Sammy.
See, that wasn't trolling. He was being disagreed with. He wasn't being trolled. He wasn't being harassed. He was being disagreed with. That was the cardinal sin. You disagreed with me when I was emotional. That was what you did wrong. That's what you did wrong. You weren't harassed, you were disagreed with.
In the second example, Cordell, who is also from D's community, comes in and makes a couple jokes about, like, Joel and Pop. That's toxic. And basically kind of pokes fun at him for DCing frequently, which you'll see in his later messages. I don't really think that this is harassment or anything like that, but he's definitely trolling. Coming into the chat just to mess with the streamer is out of my taste, but I think it's far from harassment.
Yeah, exactly. Jolt and Pop. It is toxic. I would, but I don't want a longer timer. So I'll just use this as VOD evidence to get her banned.
Evidence to get him banned.
Aw, so you are being that kind of person. Well, you can get out of my chat, and thank you for the VOD evidence.
They were being snide, but, like, Yeah, they should have not been snide with that.
Evidence to get your Twitch account banned.
Twitch account
And for
banned.
the last example of anyone I could find that disagreed with him and got banned was this person by the name of Aeon, who wasn't even from D's community. It was somebody that he played with. He was another survivor in the game.
Wow.
The killer was slugging for the 4K. Bob was arguing that this is holding the game hostage, and the other survivor was just trying to tell him that it's not holding the game hostage, which it's not. That's what the bleed out timer is for, but you'll see what happens.
Stop for 4K.
No, not our Aeon.
Yep,
no,
there it is.
I don't think Aeon plays DBD anymore.
Good luck next game, but it actually is. Like, the
Once again, he agrees with him in his first message. Is like, this is frustrating. This is, he is playing in a frustrating way. He agrees with him initially. He says, yeah, this sucks. This is a non-fun thing to face. And then, just because he disagrees with them later.
Okay. They're playing ass. I banned the ass.
This part I don't understand. They even have pop, by the way. I just want to point that out. If this is the same match, this is the same match. I think this might be a different match, but that'd be funny if the build wasn't even correct.
No, but that is a form. That is a form of.
Yeah, see, it's not against the rules. Which is, he's right. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. Like, he's right. Yeah, it's awful to go against, but it isn't against rules. Here's what's interesting, I think, like, mentally, what's going on here, is like, I feel like this guy, Bob is being referred to, thinks he's this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he thinks he's being reasonable by just being honest about what's he doesn't like going against, and thinks he's being noble by like reporting and speaking out about it and calling people personal insults because of it. He thinks he's this guy who is just going, yeah, I hated that. That wasn't a fun time, but it's not against the rules. He's still living in our reality, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not bending reality. He's just going, yeah, that's unfun. My emotions with this are negative, but what can you do? Right? He's just ventilating his emotions and then going, okay, but in reality, what can you do?
Taking the game hostage.
It's not.
Aeon, I've literally talked to several of the original behavior developers. All right.
And then banned for disagreement again.
And you can sit here and claim it isn't all you want, but I'm getting rid of you because I'm not going to be sitting and harassed and trolled in my own chat.
He knows people.
When I flat out have talked, I've literally got an open email chain with the devs.
Oh, email chain with the devs.
Where they say it is.
Okay.
Like, and I've given them my VOD evidence, and I've gotten multiple players permabanned from the game because that's the way they play. And
there are people like this in the community. There are people like this in the community. It's not just him. There are people in this community that take such huge pride in having had people banned. I don't like having to report people. Is that just weird? Am I weird for that? I don't like being in a situation where I have to report someone. Something has gone incredibly wrong and crappy if I have to report someone. I want to be over and done with that situation as quickly as I can be. That's me. Like, if I'm in a situation where I have to report people, I'm like, oh, God. You know? Like I don't feel good about it. Because, like, that means something serious happened. And I just want it to be over as quick as possible. I hope something bad happens to the person that caused the serious thing to happen. Like, it's not a fun thing. Right? But he's like, I've gotten so many people banned. So many people banned. It's like it's like a little little badges on his chest. You know, he thinks he's like, it's a moment of pride for him. That's not good. That's not good, homie. That's not good at all.
That is a form of taking the game hostage.
Yeah, so in several hours of the VOD that remains after his disconnect against D, that's literally it, of like people that come in to talk or even disagree with him, like the last guy, and he bans them immediately. The one that came in to say that, you know, perks are toxic and out of DC2, that was the closest.
Yeah,
thing
that guy was pretty snide. Like he's one of those, just like how we were talking about with Bob, the subject of this. If you're a jerk about whatever point you're trying to get across, your point doesn't matter anymore. Because they're worrying about, you know, how it's personal now, right? Like that your point is lost now. Same thing with that guy to a much lesser extent. Is that like he was wanting to be a jerk. He wanted to troll instead of like actually tell him something that mattered. So yeah, I agree with that.
Troll. But he only got a couple words in and then he got banned, and that was the only experience of troll that you had.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Dee's community has done a great job of not coming in and bothering you, especially to this level that you state that they have.
You know what's funny? You know, like a community, I can't, like, somebody from my community would go do that. I would pray that nobody who actively talks in here would, but there's probably somebody, if I pull up my lurkers and look, there's probably some person that I don't know very well that just kind of hangs out here, because I don't look at my view count, and I don't have like my users in chat up a lot. I bet there's somebody in there, like somebody in my lurk that like lurks all the time, that would go do that, right? And I just don't know that because like I don't interact with them, or they've said like one thing in chat ever, right? You can't fully control a community. You can't. So the fact that he did that and only one person from his community even slightly was snide with you and rude with you, that's something to me. To me, that says something positive about Dee's community. That only one person came out of that and was snide to you. Because, oh boy, believe me, you have people like with like I guess I won't name names because I don't want to get into that drama. There are big salt creation channels, huge salt creation channels, who that's like their main thing is making DBD salt videos, and they have to constantly manage their communities going into other communities. That is a thing they constantly have to do, and it is super prevalent. They can stare into the camera and say all they want, you know, oh, well, don't go harass them. But on the back end, they're having to manage that a lot. Their mods are having to manage that a lot. The fact that Dee's community only had one person even slightly rude to you shows me more about his community than it does about your situation. It really does.
You acted like you've been harassed and bullied, like, to the world beyond. Bob, if you're watching this video, I hope that you've opened your eyes to some of the things that have happened and the things that you've said, and some of the things I'm trying to tell you now. I believe that you can be a better person than this, despite not really knowing you well. I believe that
he's way nicer than I am.
Around. It just takes a little bit of reflection and admitting when you're wrong sometimes. Mental health and abuse and everything of that nature, again, for like the third time, is not to be taken lightly.
Nope.
And you should not be throwing the words around like that. You have not been a victim of abuse from that one guy, D.
Nope.
And D is not responsible for your mental health.
Nope.
Mental health is a big deal, and I fully respect if you have mental health issues, because, you know, a lot of us do. But it's not D's fault, and it's not the game's fault, and you need to be able to hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
Whether your mental health is in a good or bad state. I think that's all I have. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lesson, even if you're not Bob, about mental health and how we should behave when it comes to content creation and how we hold ourselves accountable within this realm of gaming. Thank you.
That was an infuriating 22 minutes. That was an infuriating 22 minutes. He was so much nicer than I was. So much nicer than I was. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just I've known people who've been through a lot. I know so many people that have been through a lot. I've been through some things, but I cannot side with that. You know, he's right. Like, it's my heart talking and not my brain, right? In my brain, I know people can change, and he's right. He's right about that, but like, I don't know. I would not be cutting him so much slack because he's shown to me, this Bob character has shown to me that he wants to kind of like, you know, greasily slide his way out of any accountability as much as possible. So, yeah. I feel like he needs to be held more accountable. I feel like he needs to understand the gravity of the language that he's using and the manipulation he's doing to basically back out of apologizing. Like, he's trying to use very, very serious things and treating them very, very with, like, not even, like, absolutely zero gravity. Just, like, no self-awareness of how the importance of the things that he is saying and using to enforce his argument. Just to refuse to apologize, which is what the core of all this is refusing to apologize. It's that simple. I'm sorry. I was frustrated at the game. Things in the game that frustrated me, I made personal. I should have kept it in the game. It doesn't matter what build you ran. It doesn't matter how you played. I shouldn't have taken it to that level. I'm allowed to ventilate my feelings. I'm allowed to be myself. But the line was crossed when I hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry. That's what he should have said. But instead, he came up with this super convoluted story, didn't link any evidence, and then used some very, very, very serious terminology to back out of apologizing. And he needs to understand very firmly that that's really messed up, and that is not okay. That is not okay. You don't use that language for things that aren't that. You just don't. In moments like these, I always think of that art piece where it's like, it's two people sitting back to back, but like they have another smaller person inside of them, but they're like actually like, you know, holding hands through the backs turned. People will do so much just to avoid apologizing. So much. When it could be that easy.